Guten Abend, ist Heinrich, and I am back to narrate these Pokemon battles between BKC and the greatest the greatest human to ever walk the earth, Crashing Boom Bang. And in this, in einem Jahr mit 13 Monden, that's all I have for now. Heinrich has to go away until I get inspired by all this ORAS goodness that's happening on the screen. So I love ORAS OU. I think it's a very interesting and intriguing at the same time. Off to a great start. Also, I drank a lot of water right before starting this, so one of my favorite bathroom breaks is definitely coming. Because I noticed in the comments of the last video, people were missing those, and that just warmed my heart. And then some guy was also asking shirtless video when, and I was like, well, I'm honored, first of all. Second of all, if my movie gets funded, I will do an entire video shirtless. You have my guarantee on that. Shirtless, dressed up as Ken from Barbie, you know, just name it. Gotta get that, that movie budget. Anyway, so I love ORAS OU, CBB loves ORAS OU, I think it's a great tier. It's flawed, but I think that it's an interesting kind of flawed. It's a competitive kind of flawed, as opposed to, well, you know, the generation that I won't care to ruin my good mood with. So I was like, hey, we should just have a big ORAS blowout where we just play a bunch of games with a bunch of cool stuff. And he was like, yeah, and then we were like, we're going to build some teams for this, and then we built no teams for this. So we just grabbed, well, except for this first one I have, but I'll explain that in a second. So we grabbed a bunch of teams we played, and we had so much fun that we will do it again with new teams specifically built to be cool. Okie doke. So, fair warning, I play heinously in these. It's been a while since I touched this gen. So, this was the only team I built for it, and I built it in like 30 seconds before the first game started. And the whole reason I wanted to do it was because I'm hilarious. And there's a great German movie director named Rainer Werner Fassbinder, and he has Rainer as his first name, and Rain as a strategy, all right? And yeah, that's, and and CBB is German. For those who don't know, you know, that would seem like the most obvious thing in the world, but, you know, there are young people entering the Pokemon scene these days, and they're like, who's McMegan? Stuff like that. Stuff that really makes me feel like a dinosaur. Anyway, so it's been so long that I haven't built a team in ORAS that as I was building this rain team, I was like, I'm definitely forgetting something, and literally the second I saw team preview, I was like, oh right, Kingdra. That like automatic addition to rain teams. Whoops. So, I have Scarf Volcanion instead. Well, I was going to use Scarf Volcanion anyway, but I should have put Kingdra over, like, Thunderous. But it's fine. So, I lead off with Rainer Fassbinder because I'm just so hilarious. And it's a good lead because Magnezone is the only thing that really threatens it. And I have Encore, so Manaphy can't set up Tail Glows on me. And if he leads off with Magnezone, you know, I have a Swampert, so that's just fine. And I think I go right for... Oh, I do go right for... Oh my god, I'm so good. I forgot about this. This is not going to be the most serious analysis. I mean, I can't help myself, so of course that will happen. But, you know. Anyway, Scald is easy, but Manaphy is also a super safe switch because it hydrations off the Scald burns. So Scalding into... I mean, Scald does show me if it's leftovers or not, yeah, so that's useful. And if it's not leftovers, then it has damage it's not healing off. But I think it's also pretty likely that Chomp either goes for rocks or, you know, SD. So that's why... because Encoring Stealth Rock is like, who cares? I would have rather have Scalded it. But if it's SDing and it's SD Lum, then that's something more dangerous. So Encore deals with the dangerous option, and now I have a very free switch to Ferrothorn. Okay, good, it is Ferrothorn. So if Magnezone comes in, I'm just going to get a million layers because Rain's up. And Manaphy is going to Tail Glow in my face, get up rocks, fine. +3 Surf and Rain, 2 KOs, which is hilarious. Oh, and yeah, because this Ferrothorn has a lot of physical defense to take things like Keldeo Secret Sword. And yeah, so he serves 2 KOs, and I Power Whip and crit. And because I'm a man of incredible honor, then I forfeit right away, and we recreate it. Oh my god, I'm so great. So, same thing. SD Encore, oh, it's just a thing of beauty. Don't worry, that level of play does not last. it declines very quickly. Surf, and now I go to Volcanion because it water absorbs. It's very unlikely for him to pop an energy ball there, if he even has it. You know, energy ball or, well, it wouldn't be psychic in this gen. Yeah, that's why I forgot Kingdra. I was like, what am I forgetting? Well, I need my fast options. What's fast on Rain? It's not Gen 7, so no Greninja. So, yeah, I go to Scarf Volcanion, which is a CBB set, and I wanted to try it on Rain. And to make its Steam Eruption pressure on offense even more ridiculous than it already is with no weather. So, yeah, Volcanion can switch into most anything here. And hopefully he doesn't think I'm using Scarf Volcanion because he thinks I'm out of the loop, which I am. So he just stays in, but I go for Rain Boosted Steam Eruption because it will plow the Manaphy from that range in Rain, and nothing switches into it. Even Latias is going to take a heavy hit, but it misses, which sucks. So Steam Eruption again takes a hefty 30, get the burn at least, and on the defog. So if the first Steam Eruption connects, then that's a lot of pressure, but that is the game. So in comes Maya Brown. Sorry, Heinrich corrected my pronunciation there. And that was a great double back to Manaphy on CBB's end, especially because it is lefties getting the most out of it, which makes dealing with a lot tougher. But since it's not tail glowed up and it's not even in Rain, then I can switch into it fairly easily with Torn T. And it is Assault Vest, but it's also Max Special Attack, which is a set I like, because sometimes you notice that even 0 Special Attack, AV Torn, has actually a pretty strong Hurricane, and it's not a perfect hit taker anyway, you know, once things like Burn and Stealth Rock start getting introduced. So I like it when it hits hard, and it's especially fitting on Rain. So I think I just go for, yeah, I do go for Knockoff, because if Manaphy stays in, then, you know, it doesn't have lefties anymore. So even if it gets Healing Wish, that makes dealing with it easier. And nothing else really wants to take the Knockoff either. So I get rid of Magnezone, which shows lefties as opposed to the more common Scarf. Fine by me. And I have Focus Blast, so I decided to go for it here because that will make Ferrothorn a lot better, even if it lives. Even if the Magnezone lives, which it probably will at low health, then that makes Ferrothorn a lot more effective. And the likelihood of CBB going for an electric move into my Swampert is very low. But also, at the same time, even if he does electric move my Torn, whether that's Volt Switch or T-Bolt, then I'm willing to do that in order to make Ferrothorn more effective. Especially because, like the Manaphy doubled for its lefties there, I can do that very simply with Pharaoh as well. So bringing Zone down for the sake of Pharaoh, absolutely. But Focus Blast misses, gets Flash Cannoned, and so I'm like, alright, well, he's dead set on staying in. So I U-turn. I was a little afraid of Garchomp coming in and rough skinning me, but instead he does not do that. I was like, alright, well, can't play too safely at this point. Can't overthink it either. And Swampert comes in, takes a hefty chunk from Flash Cannon, but Mega goes off, and Waterfall chunks that Lando quite hard. So I just want to get rocks, because I'm pretty sure if the Garchomp SD'd on the first turn, this is going to be his rocker, and indeed it is. So Pharaoh gets those rocks up. In comes Manaphy, not even Magnezone. I don't know if that was to catch a double or not. But either way, I'm like, well, if I'm going to get away with, free health on my Ferrothorn and rocks, and then I will gladly go to Volcanion here. And turns out it is HP Fire Manaphy. I thought, he was just trying to catch a double or something. because I didn't think that it would be HP Fire Manaphy alongside Magnezone, but it is. At the same time, you never know. That what does make it more unexpected. And he might be up to something else with that Magnezone set. So HP Fire does nothing to this thing, but Manaphy's gaining health, so I got a HP Grass It, which is fine because he stays and takes the hit, and it does have Energy Ball. It's E-Ball HP Fire. So that is good to know because it means that Thundurus can take a Surf, which is outside of rain, of course, which is better than risking an Ice Beam. So HP Grass brings it down, and Volcanion is limited on switches now because Manaphy is going to get Healing Wished. And I really, since he wants to keep it alive for the Healing Wish, I really should not have let Scizor come in here for free like this. I should have doubled to Politoed, actually. And instead, we make Pokemon history here, as this is the first time Scizor has ever pursued a Volcanion. I'm convinced. So down goes my Volcanion, relegated to death fodder. So I really should have doubled before. That was not very heads up. That was playing too safe. And he U-turns out of Politoed. At least Politoed, I'm going to get a KO here. Well, not directly, but Latias is going to go down. But the fact that he's going to Healing Wish 100% here means that I get a free switch, and I'm going to choose to go to Ferrothorn, because if he goes to something that immediately threatens Ferrothorn, fine. But that means Manaphy does not get Healing Wished, and Manaphy is not dealt with. Sorry, Manaphy is easier to deal with, because it's on death's door. And if he Healing Wishes Manaphy, then okay, fine. I have a good matchup one-on-one against it. He goes to Lando instead. I don't know quite what this is doing, whether it's Scarf or what. But I get a layer of spikes, so Manaphy is dead, which is fantastic. And more pressure on Scizor, because Scizor is actually weirdly obnoxious if I'm not careful with Thundurus now that Volcanion is down. So Scizor comes in on the Torn double, and I do not want to get Bullet Punched, so I go to this thing, and he Roosts instead. Great play. And I decide, so here I make another mistake. I thought he was going to go to Landorus, and this was actually an incredibly stupid play, like absurdly. I was thinking, okay, either he's going to try to intimidate me with Landorus and slow me down, or he's going to Roost with Scizor. I think the Roost with Scizor is more likely. The Lando thing doesn't make any sense considering how much Waterfall did earlier outside of Rain. So, yeah, I think that must have been for Scizor trying to Roost stall the Rain, because there's only 2 turns left. So I was going to Power Up Punch and then Waterfall, but that doesn't really work because it means that, first of all, if he Roosts and then sacrifices Lando, he hasn't damaged my Swampert at all. And if he if he doesn't damage my Swampert at all, he's going to have trouble revenge killing it, because Manaphy is dead. And Garchomp is not going to, with the Life Orb, Outrage, maybe, but then he's locked into Outrage, and down goes Chomp. So, I don't know, I should have just Waterfalled freely. I know Mega Scizor is bulky, but if he Roosts on my Power Up Punch, he doesn't keep Scizor in to take the Waterfall. That's the biggest problem, and Scizor is still at full health. Whereas if he Roosts, and I outdamage the Roost with Waterfall, so at least if he Roosts once, then he's going to be left with a little bit of damage. And if he really becomes intent on Roost stalling me, then I can Power Up Punch. But it's likelier that he either sacrifices Lando right away for the Intimidate, or he U-turns to get Chip on my Swampert so he can revenge kill it with Garchomp / Lando. One of the two. So this Power Up Punch was incredibly short-sighted. And he doesn't even U-turn, actually. He superpowers. And I then was aghast because I was like, wait, that doesn't have Bullet Punch. And he was like, yeah, that was a mistake. It is supposed to have Bullet Punch. He says he didn't know why he has U-turn on it. So, yeah, Waterfall would have been much, much, much better. That was incredibly, incredibly silly of me. So, Rain runs out. I could still get Swampert to do some stuff, though. I could have even gone right to Rain or Fastbinder there on the U-turn for... Well, no, this gives me more Rain, and I get another Scald KO. But yeah, this is spectacularly if not thrown, then okay, the music is just quiet. If not thrown, then, you know, definitely messed up, because I don't know if it was guaranteed, but yeah. So this Scizor comes in, U-turns, takes out Politoed after I crit the Magnezone, which would have preferred to have Focus Blast hit it earlier, but what the hell, it's the game. So now Chomp comes in. I'm afraid of Yachi Berry, so I go to Torn. Because Thundurus is better at dealing with Scizor than Tornadus is, because it's not relying on rain and it doesn't. Actually, I don't even know. No, it's at a higher health than Torn. So decide to Hurricane, preserve Thundurus for winning, guaranteed, or more guaranteed. And his Life Orb. Really wish I had HP Ice on this Torn, but it's hard to fit. So this is HP Ice, and now in comes Lando, and it Scarf, and it I was thinking Yachi Berry, but what was escaping me was the possibility of Scarf, because again, rushing through. This is the biggest thing. Not that I haven't played in a while, but that I was rushing through. And U-turns, great play, gets Scizor in. I know it doesn't have Bullet Punch at least, so I can get Maria Braun in as the Roost goes off, and get a big waterfall on it, but he doesn't Roost spam, because that can get dangerous, and I do outdamage it. And here's where, so now the Lando comes in. I'm like, well, it's not going to be Yachi. And I was like, okay, what could its last move be if it's Scarf? It's not going to have Stone Edge. So I was thinking, even if it is, actually I think this is Yachi Thundurus. I don't even think it's Magnet. I don't remember. So I was thinking, is it Edge or Knockoff? It's not going to be Stone Edge, and a possibility of Explosion completely slipped my mind. And I was like, just because if Scizor comes back in on the, if Scizor doubles back in on Ferrothorn, then I'm toast. Because so basically I want to hit Scizor, or if I think Scizor's doubling in, then I stay in. If I think the Lando is Explosion. And, I mean, it's a hard move to make. But because Scizor Roost and then Thundurus is going to be too low to be able to deal with it. And Scizor will be too healthy, both at once. And if I think he's going to stay in and explode, then I sacrifice Ferrothorn and then I win with Thundurus. But I didn't even consider the Scarf Explosion possibility, so I rushed through it. And that means that's the game. Oh, that was so silly. That should not have been a loss. Can't even blame Focus Blast for that one. That was just me being very, very silly. So I get some spikes up for the next game. And wow, this game, this is gonna have to be a two-parter for sure. All right, so here's me using one of my favorite teams ever. Although I don't know if it's optimal, but it starts off with getting a lucky crit on the Zapdos. Recognizing that Zapdos is a pain, so I got to lead off with Thundurus. And I'm going to T-Bolt because if Zapdos stays in and Volt switches, fine. But Seismitoad is not nearly as much of a threat. So I T-Wave the Clef just to help deal with it. And I get lucky with a full pair. So this Thundurus is already putting in overtime. And this Thundurus is Magnet, which is why that crit T-Bolt did so much. So I get a Rocks with Metagross. He stays in, catches it with a Life Orb Flamethrower. Good move. This is not even a Meteor Mash Metagross, though. One of the flaws of this team. So I go for a Zen Headbutt, aptly named. And I'm just going to... Oh, no, I go right to Manaphy, because Manaphy is my biggest threat here. This is a very slow Manaphy. And I stupidly go for a Tail Glow. Like, this was really, really dumb. I should have just surfed or something. Because the only way he has to deal with this thing... Well, first of all, my Manaphy is slow, so it's not going to be outrunning Zapdos. But at least right now, Zapdos is dead to rocks. But I shouldn't have a Tail Glow, because what do I really need the Tail Glow for? You know, a Life Orb Clef? I can deal with that easily. A Paralyzed Life Orb Clef at that. Doesn't even have leftovers. Not threatening me at all. I'm going to hit it hard with Surf. It's not going to be super invested in its bulk. And I don't care about Seismitoad. You know, I even have Lumberry if it happens to have Toxic or something. So I should have just attacked. Because Tail Glow, and now I know the Encore is coming, so I just go right to Klefki, named after one of the best movies I've seen in recent times. And in comes Excadrill. Do I go right for the Foul Play? No, I go for the Spikes. This is a Klefki set I made specifically for Excadrill. It's got so I foul play on the spin, and it does have Rocky Helmet to punish spin, and now you Magnet Rise on the EQ, which I like a lot. It's not perfect, but now I spike, and now it's physically defensive too, so Iron Head doesn't do that much, and Excadrill is getting worn down real quick and nice. And spiking, oh, nicely done, Kev. Shame about the other part with the Manaphy, the more important part. And now Exca goes down. So I think I'm just going to sack this to get spikes. Yeah, I do. And now I go to Manaphy, which before a boost isn't even 2 a Chaos, but F Heatran. But yeah, Lum helps out there. And I do have Healing Wish for later. But now Seismitoad comes in. I don't know why I E-balled here. This was bad. That was just rushing through and going through the motions. So in comes Latias. Zapdos at least doesn't roost, but now Heatran comes in, and I'm just going to have to do as much to be annoying to it as possible. So with T-waving it, then, you know, beating it with Serperior is potentially good. Now, the move there was back to Manaphy on the Heatran, so I expected a double switch back to Zapdos, so I go for Ice Beam, not trying to hit the Heatran there. But I get the Life Orb Clef instead, so that's fine. So I got a sack to this Clefable, because my team is not super secure against Clef. So now I just have to go to Metagross and get up rocks to KO the Zapdos. He wisely goes to the Zapdos on the rocks, and now sacrifices it and takes out Metagross with Rocky Helmet. So this was botched, especially because Alakazam is so terrifying. Now I can still Healing Wish to the Manaphy, but the Life Orb Moonblast is going to be taking me out. So yeah, nothing to take Psychic plus Shadow Ball anymore. So my only hope is pretty much to knock off Heatran on the switch with Serperior and bust through it somehow. So he's gonna run in Terror with not wanting to get glared, and I do knock this thing off. But yeah, well, what I mean, I still need luck is the thing, because I need to glare the Zam and then hope it paralyzes as I Leaf Storm, pretty much. So my only hope here, though, is to go to Manaphy, avoid a burn, chase the Heatran out, and then go for that plan. But that doesn't work out because Lava Plume burns, and Leaf Storm, well, I go for a knockoff, but I don't full pair that either. So, not off to a great start. That first one should have been much, much better. That one bothers me a lot more than the second. The second one, that was just a case of my team's flaws revealing themselves. This one, this is a rowdy hyper-offense team that I built around the idea that most teams get absolutely obliterated by 3 attacks Mega Charizard X. It's really, the whole team is built to... I also think a Dragonite is actually pretty, because this one's weakness policy, is also pretty threatening. So the 1-2 punch of those generally are set to do the heavy lifting. You know, set the stage with the hazard setters. This Klefki is not the same set, though. It is Fairy Lock, so, which is a pretty obscure move, but the basic idea is if you KO Klefki on that turn, or I don't remember exactly the details, because the way you're supposed to use it is you Fairy Lock as the opponent Earthquakes you, and then you send in one of your flying types, and they're forced to stay in and give you a free DD, which probably means 2 free DDs, which probably means the game. I don't know if Fairy Lock forces the opponent to stay in on the next turn if they don't KO you. It probably does. It'd be weird if it didn't. But that's the way it's supposed to be used, is when you get KO'd. So in comes Klefki. This one is specially defensive, so I can take Fire Blasts, or Life Orb Clef Flamethrows better. Get those spikes before Diancie Mega Evolves. That's why I let off with Starmie, to prevent Diancie from being annoying. So that Flamethrower does not do nearly as much. And in comes Excadrill, and now I go to my offensive Rocky Helmet Lando. And here I get in my own head, and I was like, alright, he's going to get that cheeky spin-off on my rocks. That's what, and then I was thinking, oh, as soon as I go for that EQ to try and punch that, I was thinking, come on, just that was overdoing it. That's too much. I mean, yes, Hazard Pressure is going to start to get nasty with that triple Stealth Rock weakness, but that's exactly why you just rocks, because even if he spins, rocks are more important. You know, the spikes, take it or leave it. But if he's really going to let you chip the Executor like that with Rocky Helmet and then let you get rocks anyway, fine. That's more important. So, risk-reward. So, Zapdos comes in. I can take an HP Ice, so I go for that with rocks. But now I boom, whereas I could have just rocked and boomed. Or rocked and switched and still had a healthy Lando. So, either way, didn't love that. Go to Dragonite, not because Dragonite is going to sweep, because it's not, because I get Volt switched on, so I don't have multi-scale to survive Clef's hits. But what is going to happen is I'm going to get KO'd by Clefable, and then Clefable is going to give Charizard a free DD. And that is the threatening stuff. I was thinking, well, maybe you can try and set up on Zapdos, but it's easier to set up on a Life Orb Clef, because I don't know what last move the Zapdos has. And I value Dragonite a lot less. I think it's a lot likelier to get D-Knight going. I mean, might have been better to go for Zardex, because then I can still potentially do something with D-Knight later. But, so, in retrospect, I would probably go to Zardex first. But I was a bit hesitant because of an interaction you're actually going to see in this battle of Zardex versus a static Zapdos, because it's not pressure. So in comes Charizard, named after an amazing movie, and gets the DD, and exactly that whole 3-attack Zardex thing is exactly what happens. So yeah, Volcanion can't take a +1 EQ with those hazards. I was thinking after the Protect, oh, I should have DD'd again, and I was like, no, it's a little idealistic. So in comes Zapdos, which is pretty much existing only, or it's only sent in because it can static me. So I also rushed through this, and I didn't calculate how many Dragon Dances I would need to offset the the paralysis speed drop. So I just DD'd a lot all the way. But it is gonna come down. I don't have a Healing Wish or anything. But this is where I would have liked to have had Dragonite, because I mean Bisharp and Starmie are also going to be threatening, and I do have the sacrifice of Klefki, but it would have been better to have a healthy Lando. Would have been better to have D-Knight in the back. But the Zardex plan is still pretty solid. So DD, HPA's not doing a lot, and I think I get up to +5, risking the crit. If it was Gen 7, then I would definitely be fast enough. But I'm also healthy enough for 2 Rocky Helmet hits, and that's important because that Torn T is also very likely Helmet. So, go for the Dragon Claw, and Static does not activate. Wonderful. So, in comes Clefable, and his only recourse right now, because if it's Rocky Helmet Torn, he can KO my Charizard if he forces me to Flare Blitz, because that's extra recoil, but nothing forces me to Flare Blitz, because I EQ'd Diancie, Excadrill, and the half-health Clef, especially, at +5 attack. So his only recourse is to try and stall me out of Dragon Claw and Earthquake. And right off the bat, I was like, I should pop Dragon Claw or EQ, like, early on, before the pressure is on. Like early on when it's too safe, when you have too much PP, that's exactly when you should do it. As soon as you catch, he's going to do that. Because it's going to be automatic for both players. And when both players are in that automatic mode, that's exactly when you should pop it. So I really should have Dragon Clawed the Clef or, EQ'd the Torn, one of the two. Probably EQ'd the Torn because it can miss Hurricane. So, but I also knew, look, at some point he's going to stay in, realistically. So because I know CBB pretty well, but even most players, they're going to start tripping up. So, it's because it's so hard to make that other move. And, pretty quickly, and I declaw that, and that's that. So, how long is this video? Because I actually do have to... Oh, it's already half an hour. And I actually have to do a couple things before I go to work. Okay, that's going to be part 1. And there are how many more games in this blowout? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. Yeah, no, that's we're gonna have to call it there. Actually, we can do one more. Yeah, let's do this one. This one's fun. And so then it's 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, we can do 4 and 5. Make it 5 and 5. Yeah, why not? Okay. So Thunderous. Yeah, this is a very flawed team of mine. Actually, you know what? I'll see how long this one takes and then make the call. So Lopunny is very good against this kind of offense team. Obviously, my team is very flawed because I forgot to put a steel type on it. I put Lopunny where Metagross should go on an old team of mine. And I was like, oh, wait, Clefable. But then, yeah, who cares? And if there's anyone who's less likely to use a bulky Clefable, I mean, you don't like the complete lack of fairies resist on this team, but at least offensive Clefable you can overwhelm offensively. So in comes Metagross in the obligatory Fake Out. Really should have just, I mean, nah, I definitely could have afforded to return or, you know, high jump kick, that's a little excessive, but, you know, return, you know, definitely, maybe. Because the Fake Out is just so free. Like, what's he going to do? Let Thunderous get faked out and then be in KO range and switch into a stronger attack? No, he's going to switch. So I think Return is better because it also catches Lando. So Metagross comes in. I go to my Tank Chomp. Scare it out. In comes Weavile on the rocks. I go to Crawdaunt, which is not very useful in this matchup, other than to resist Weavile's stabs, because it's facing an offensive team, as opposed to the bulky stuff it likes destroying. And Knockoff does a lot of damage, but Crawdaunt just barely avoiding that 2 KO. So, go for a Knockoff myself, and do no Choice Band, and still so much damage to Breloom. Good lord. And I get rid of a Life Orb, too. So, I go to Garchomp, because if it's Spores, fine. I can pivot to Torn on a Bullet Seed or something. And I've got the bulk to see what's going on. But he Bullet Seeds right away and gets 3 hits. So I go for a Fire Blast here because I don't want to give a free switch in to any of the 3 flyers that could come. I mean, Latios is unlikely in case he thinks I'm going to Dragon Tail or something. But also possible that, either way, because Lando can take Dragon Tail and EQ. So that's the likeliest. And I don't even think I have Dragon Tail. I think it's EQ, Fire Blast, and Toxic or Endure. But yeah, no, actually it's not Endure. It's definitely Toxic. But yeah, so I go for a Fire Blast, and he goes for Mach Punch just to chip Garchomp, make sure Metagross can get through it later, sacrificing Breloom for it. And Rocky Helmet does not take it out with Rough Skin, but Fire Blast misses, and that really bites. So now Garchomp goes down without, you know, getting a little more out of it. In comes Lopunny. And to get a nice Fake Out on the Latios, don't want to risk Scarf. I go to Clefable. Does he go for... No, he just defogs, gets rid of those rocks from Chomp. So that really bites that he gets those off, because Metagross can set him back up again. In comes Lando. This is an offensive Clef, I think, so I go... Oh, I do go for Flamethrower. And Lando comes in. I don't know what that set is. But I'm not going to... I go for another Flamethrower trying to catch Metagross. He goes to Thunderous this time. And Thuntherian showing just how good it is as an alternative to the regular one. I get a nice special... Oh, this is an offensive Clef. It's lefties. I was thinking that Flamethrower did a little too little. So I get a lucky special attack drop. I would have liked to have had the Fire Blast hit, though. That's... Yeah, so now I soft-boiled as Metagross comes in for free. I go to Rotom, which can take even Zen Headbutt. And now he's going to get rocks up. And it misses Wisp on Latios, so that one bit a little bit. And I go back to Clef, because at this point you're thinking, okay, now here comes a double of Metagross, but you can't start overthinking it much because Metagross comes in, okay, I can still thwart it with Rotom, and it's not necessary enough. Not necessarily enough to go for that risk. And I think the reason he Draco Meteored was because he expected me to start being wary of that Metagross double switch with the Rocks advantage he has is a lot more dangerous. So he wanted to catch that. But yeah, I won't start repeating myself. So Moonblast hits Lando quite nicely. SDs. And this is not a physically bulky Clef. So I don't want to risk this one, and I sat Chronon. I should have gone to Torn. I really, really wanted to. I was like, no way, you Stone Edges. But yeah, now I go to Lopunny again and take it out with Return. So this dance against Metagross is still a little on the unpleasant side. Zen Headbutt smacks it hard. Fine. Hydro is... I think I Hydro... Oh, no, I double switched it. Oh, that's a... Wow, Kev. Great move. Yeah, because that catches Latios and Thundurus without risking... Because Will-O-Wisping Thundurus and letting it smack KO another thing, you don't want that. And you don't really want to play the Hydro Wisp game either. And Volt Switch you can't do because of Thundurus as well, because of Volt Absorb. Another major advantage of Thundurus over Thundurus Therian over Thundurus Incarnate. So yeah, that was nicely done by me. And Weavile comes in. I should have U-turned, I think. I miss it with Heat Wave. Oh, man, okay, that's a little much. Yeah, so I have to sack Rotom here, hoping he misses an Icicle Crash. So, yeah, a Heat Wave doesn't KO, but it means that he can't do that again later. I think maybe I should have U-turned. I mean, that's a tough one at this point, but yeah. Actually, I don't know. I think this is an offensive Heat Wave Torn, so I'd have to get the damage calc out. I was not calcing for this one. In comes Lopunny again, gonna take out that Thundurus, and in comes Metagross. And at this point, I have to pray for misses. I think, yeah. High Jump Kick does not go off, and I mean it's still very doable with Clef, barely. It's not physically defensive at all though, which is a shame because it means Weavile is gonna hit it a lot harder. So now you see here's another mistake I made. I was thinking like, okay, well Heat Wave, Weavile doesn't want to switch in just to play it safe. He's gonna go to Latios, which might be Scarfed. You should knock off, and he doesn't want to risk sacrificing the Metagross either because that hits Clefable a lot harder than Latios. You should knock off, especially because if you knock off the Weavile, then you get rid of its Choice Band. So hell, even knocking off the Thundurus would have been better than Heat Wave. Well, maybe, I don't know. I'd have to calc the Heat Wave to know for sure. But I just Heat Wave this thing, and it Psyshocks, and now it's pretty much... Even if the Metagross doesn't have Meteor Mash, then it's... I don't think Clef can take these two hits. Because it's Bullet Punch. Yeah, if I was Bold Max Clef, maybe. Actually, probably. But, yeah. So, nothing doing there. And that is going to be this game. Alright, how long did that take? Oh, wow, that took... Now, alright, I can do the last one. So it's a nice, even 5 and 5. Has it been 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, great. Alright. This other team of mine, I like this one. It's very fun. And he's got this very cool team based on huge attack stats and beat up Weavile. Lopunny is good again. It's a good lead into Weavile, which is great. And I've got a bunch of I think it's a pretty decent matchup with the T-Spikes and the... Look, I mean, Weavile is terrifying, but my Volcanion is very physically defensive with Protect. So I think it's very doable. So I go right for the... I hope I go for... Yes, okay, I go for Return and not Fake Out on the Weavile. Get Rocky Helmeted, fine. I go right to Hydreigon and get U-Turn. Maybe I should have gone... No, it doesn't really make a difference, because he U-Turns right away and brings in Weavile. So that doesn't really change much. I guess Cofagrigus would have gotten less chipped than Hydreigon, and I could have used Hydreigon for something else, but I think that was minimal. I think... yeah, because I was expecting Rocks, of course. And Hydreigon is not, too easy to switch into. So... in comes Volcanion, and look how tanky this thing is. There's the 12% from the Cure in Black, of course. Even with that, then it manages to just barely take 2. And do I go for the Protect? Yeah, I do. And in comes Cure in Black. Yeah, I didn't want to risk the... I should have gone for Steam Eruption. That was a little too passive against a team that... But I get it's a risky one, man. So... either way, so I think I go to Excadrill here. He goes back to Weavile, and the reason is not just to absorb that Draco Meteor, But also because this Excadrill is physically defensive, so it can take a beat up. It's got a ton of physical defense, actually. And down goes Weavile. Wonderful. That worked out very well. Extremely threatening before the hazards go up. In comes Mega Gallade, but that's fine because I can take a knockoff and threaten to burn it and set up T-Spikes. And T-Spikes will, help handle Gallade, handle Kyurem, handle Volcanion. So totally fine with that. And I even have Pain Split, so not worried about that. And knockoff crits. And oh man, that really that was a bit much because now I can't take the second one. Yeah, that's a game changer because the second knockoff is weaker with the lack of item and everything. Yeah, that one frustrated me a little. So now I just have to hope for paralysis with Superior, and that doesn't quite work. Excadrill is going to get rocks at least, but it lets at this point it's too little too late. As yeah, I can come in and glare this, but I think I should have just, because he doesn't want to switch into a paralyzed Kyurem with rocks up into a Superior. A Superior might even have HP Rock for all he knows, so I should have just glared the Gallade. And, because if Kyurem comes in, it's not looking good anyway. But Gallade is much more threatening than Kyurem. So now I have to... this Volcanion has Roar, which is awesome for things like Clef and and Suicune. That's the major one. So I roar out Volcanion, and I'm trying to roar the Volcanion out and Gallade back in to just make something happen. But I drag Lando in instead, which is very unfortunate. I was expecting EQ, but he U-turned, so that's helpful. I mean, he doesn't want to risk not KOing the... Oh, actually, no, that was way smarter, of course, because if the Weavile beat-up did that little, then why wouldn't he? Of course he wouldn't want to get devoured and lose his Volcanion for nothing. I mean, at this point, Gallade's looking close to winning anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But his U-turn means that I get another free Roar, and hopefully I can drag... Oh, no, I don't, because it's not choiced Lando. I forgot about that. So... that means I do drag the Volcanion in, but I get EQ'd, and at this point I think it's too little too late anyway. So, yeah, that knockoff crit is what I'm... And Sludge Bomb, I should have gone to Excadrill there and just... Instead of just letting the Volcanion go, just be... Hey, pray that it's a Scarf, which it is, and get in on the Sludge Bomb, make something happen. I mean, it's too little too late anyway, but, yeah, at least give more of an option. Threaten to burn. You could take the Drain Punch with Volcanion if you preserve it. And I forgot that Gallade has... Oh, it's Inner Focus, not Steadfast. Regular Gallade has Steadfast. But yeah, that was an unfortunate one. So, in this next video, which I will do my best to upload as soon as possible. I'm trying to upload more consistently now. Although I'm going to have to rush to get my other stuff done, but worth it. So if you want a sneak preview of the other matchups, then here's the first one, here's the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and then the fifth one, which is absolutely insane. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the second and final part.